Asian markets are mixed today after a wild ride on Wall Street yesterday, fueled by Donald Trump mulling the sacking of the head of the US Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell. And as always, we can turn to Jameel Ahmad, Chief Analyst at GTC. Good morning, Jameel. How are the markets faring today after that wild ride yesterday?
A little bit mixed after a very rollercoaster US trading session. So essentially what happened is there was reports that US President Donald Trump was set to dismiss Fed Chair Jerome Powell from his position. As we know, we've spoken about on a regular basis, he's been criticizing US interest rate policy for a number of weeks, if not months, and also pretty much insulting the Federal Reserve Chair. But then those reports seem to get denied, and essentially that's why the market was up and down. But if we look at what's happened overnight, it's mixed, though we did have some concerning economic data releases from Japan, where you saw exports fell for the second consecutive month. That's not a positive sign for the world economy in light of the upcoming tariffs that are going to come into play on the 1st of August, should they actually be implemented. And you also had comments from the White House overnight that it does not see the success of having a trade deal between the US and Japan. So it seems like this standoff when it comes to trade tariffs is going to continue for some time, at least between those two major economies.
Now, after weeks of criticising the Fed chair, Donald Trump seemed to cross a line yesterday. What did he say?
So he actually said that we're not planning on doing anything in terms of those reports that circulated a couple of hours earlier that Fed Chair Jerome Powell was set to be essentially fired from his position. But he also said that he does not rule anything out. Of course, as I mentioned, Trump has been insulting the Fed chair for some time. He's also blatantly called for lower interest rate policy, including just a couple of days ago, he said that interest rate policy in the United States should be lower by 3 percentage points, which is a pretty drastic step from where they are now. And investors are concerned because you don't see a US president or any president talking about the political independence of central bank policy and so forth. But nonetheless, this is the world that we're living in, and it's continuing for some time in terms of these comments about US interest rate policy. Most likely, the Fed will start cutting interest rates over the coming weeks and months. But it's also somewhat self-imposed that they've not been able to do so because of the uncertainty that's been lingering from months of erratic trade policy and tariffs disputes.
Thank you very much for that, Jameel Ahmad, Chief Analyst at GTC. And it's time now for a look through the press with